Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks you to Administrator Regan for being here. We're eager for your leadership. The Journal of Environmental Research Letters recently published a study showing that steeply limiting or eliminating methane emissions could slow the rate of the Earth's warming by as much as 30%. There's a lot to do on climate, but getting methane out of the atmosphere is critical to keeping warming below the 2 degrees targeted by the Paris Climate Accord. I'm happy to co-sponsor with Ms. DeGette the CRA that will restore the Obama new source rules. But on methane regulation, I want to point out that we can build back better. Instead of prescribing technology, which is a proxy for lower emissions, we now have the monitoring ability, which we did not have in 2016, to impose direct emission standards. And last week, I introduced the Methane Act that would do just that, direct the EPA to set methane emission limits for oil and gas facilities, reduced over time, encouraging investment in technologies that provide the greatest emission reductions at the lowest cost. So, Mr. Administrator, I ask you to consider this new approach and whether there's a benefit to passing it through legislation that would provide reliability to the environment and to industry. I ask that your budget dedicate the resources under any circumstances to monitor emissions and enforce compliance. And I'm going to ask you to respond to that in writing so I can bring another urgent matter to your attention today. On behalf of the people I represent in San Diego and Coronado, I have to tell you about what has to be one of the most dire environmental catastrophes on the continent. Tens of millions of gallons of raw sewage, human and chemical waste from commercial and industrial facilities are flowing down through the Tijuana River across the US-Mexico border into San Diego communities. This is toxic stuff. When it dries, the dust blows into nearby neighborhoods. The smell and noxious fumes make people sick. Border Patrol agents and Navy SEALs who train to protect our country have to wade and swim through it and are stricken with skin rashes, nausea, and even their boots disintegrating on their feet because of the chemicals in this sludge. Sewage from Baja California and northern Mexico is being pumped untreated into the ocean, makes its way into San Diego County beaches in a matter of hours. Over the past few weeks, more than 550 million gallons of wastewater was pumped into the ocean just a few short miles south of the border. And within hours, it's on San Diego beaches. People are getting sick. Beaches are getting closed. The Tijuana estuary is completely fouled, and this has been going on for far too long. We've worked hard as a congressional delegation to fix the problem and secured more than $300 million as part of the USMCA. We're supporting your agency and IBWC as they plan, design, and permit the big projects we need to address it, but we need action now. This is an international catastrophe. It's happening in a working class, majority minority community in a far corner of our country. So I have to tell you today that these Americans are counting on you and me to fix it. And the best way to describe how much worse the problem has become is by the number of beach closure days at these locations. In 2018, South San Diego County beaches were closed 101 days. In 2019, that increased to 243 days. In 2020, 295 days. And in 2021, the beaches have been closed for the entire year. The nearby canyons have experienced toxic, dangerous spills every single day. In August 2020, the governor of Baja California declared the sewer system fixed in Tijuana after they replaced a pump station with the new diversion pumps. Around the same time, the EPA, as part of the USMCA process under President Trump, stated it was not necessary to implement short-term emergency measures to control transboundary flows because Mexico had fixed the pump station. But as I explained, it's now 9 months later. We're still getting daily transboundary flows, and our beaches are still polluted. Can't wait for more public scoping meetings and studies. I'm going to ask you 4 things today. First, we need urgent, immediate fixes, anything to slow the flows. Second, we need a diversion structure built immediately, either through executive order or otherwise fast track. Third, we ask your help in proclaiming the urgency to the administration about the need for the State Department to engage with Mexico and insist that they do their part and build the infrastructure needed to keep up with their population growth. And fourth and finally, and this is the only question I'd ask you to answer today, will you please join Representative Juan Vargas, who represents the border area with me, and me in San Diego soon to see this tragedy for yourself? We desperately need your help, and we'd love to show you the problem that we're facing. Your comments on clean water in your written testimony couldn't have made me feel better about this. And we'd love to have you out in San Diego so we can work on this together. And I'd ask you to come visit us. And with that, I'll take your answer, but I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. I absolutely would love to visit with you. It's a priority for EPA. I've already spoken with my Mexican counterpart about how urgent this problem is and appreciate the resources that Congress allocated a couple of months ago, and we're working hard on a solution.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.